Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome. Awesome. I'm not sure if you guys have heard this song. We're going to play it for like 1 minute. It's the remix to Tiny Dancer. So wherever you've been this morning, take a moment to just stretch. Woo. Might be here from Wednesday night, all day yesterday. Welcome, welcome. We're going to do some great things today. Let's turn up the volume. Thank you. How's that? Let's go, Tiny. Yes. Okay. I guess I only have 30 minutes. Thank you so much to Elton John and Britney Spears for your amazing rendition of Tiny Dancer. I am so excited to see everyone. Yay, we got people in the house. New Jersey's here. Where is everyone coming from? I love it. I love that whole activity of, here we are on Zoom, but we're also all over the world, right? We got Vegas, Western New York, Fresno, Phoenix, Bay Area. Yeah, Palm Springs, Maine, California, Utah. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Okay, so 30 minutes, that is not much time. We're going to dive right in because I got the 10 tips of going tiny and a few extra things that I had to add into the mix. And so we are going to share screen and dive right in. What is everyone like? What some big takeaways you've got? Has that happened already here? Just put Y in the comment, in the chat. Because we want to make sure, I'm going to use the chat a lot. I am a chatter. It's the next best thing I have to being in person. Okay. So I love to, have people raise hands, a lot of audience interaction. The chat is the way we're going to do that. So I want to make sure we got a yes from Soren. Thank you, Soren, for being here. Thank you all for being here. Okay, so
buying a tiny home really comes down to 3 pillars of the land, the finance, and the build. And we help guide you through all of those steps. When you work with me, Lindsay, the tiny home lady, you get all kinds of support and passion for your dream of going tiny. So I make sure you get the type of home that's going to work with you. So many people have a passion for going tiny. I get to really connect in their dream and make sure we support it and it doesn't falter. We work with go-getters, right? This is not super simple stuff, but we're all about let's figure it out together. And my mission is to make sure that you have the best journey towards your dream tiny home. Let's go tiny.
All right, so my buddy Travis put that together.
Tiny home really,
there we go. One next slide.
It comes down to 3 pillars: the land, the finance.
Okay, obviously did not want to go advance. Gratitudes. I want to give a huge shout out to Jason, Zach, Jell, and team for making this event happen. This is a picture of my husband and I at Bioneers. It's the first event we ever did after picking up our home in Utah, completely undone by a builder that went out of business on us. And so it was a big journey for us to take a home that we expected to be custom built to surprise DIY, take 8 months of our life, complete the home. Now, how many of you would like to have that kind of shock, right? Probably no one. No one's really ready for that unless you're a DIYer. Am I DIYers out there? Right? Any DIYers in the house? Yeah. Awesome. Yes, DIY. I love it. That is the basis of how our whole industry started. Now, for a lot of people, how many of you want to have a home built by a builder? Put B in the chat. Just give me a B, right? B for builder. Yes. Or maybe a mix, right? H for hybrid. You want someone to start the build, do the framing, maybe the electrical and all the plumbing, all the stuff that you don't want to do wrong, and finish it yourself, right? We can all put in floors. We can trim out a window. So I love it. I love that mix of DIY, hybrid, and builder. It's great. And my goal is 100,000 tiny homes on wheels or small homes on foundation. I am absolutely committed to sharing with you all the difference of those two, but that is my goal. I've been reading this morning and for a number of days, about 3.8 million homes in the United States are needed, but they're in California alone, 2.5 million are needed in the next 8 years. So I don't know, all these kind of numbers out there. The fact is we need more housing. right? What are some of the biggest reasons why people want to go tiny? Why are you here today? Is it financial? Is it to simplify? Is it to own a home? You know, put in the chat, whatever your biggest dream, and maybe it's been percolating over time. Maybe you're still starting out, just figuring it out, but there's a reason why you're here, right? You could be doing anything else on a Friday at 11 o'clock, my time. All the above. I love it. The freedom, own a home, big dream. Yes, that was our dream. My husband and I wanted to own a home. We lived in Marin County, too expensive to buy the $1 million home and maintain that kind of financial reality, because then you have to go get the job to keep the home and back and forth, right? And so I love it, not tied down to one area. We wanted to travel. We had the vision of being able to travel, so we did. We traveled with our home 15,000 miles. Some people want to do that. Most people want the option to move it. Aging in place, that's another one. How many of you out there, I love it, be in community, own a home. How many of you out there want to live on the same property as your family or friends? We'll call that multi-generational housing. That is one of the biggest, I see areas here, at least in the state of California, the biggest opportunities we have is the accessory dwelling unit in the backyard, or this thing called SB9, where you can get 4 homes on one R1 zone property. And we're seeing that more and more, the ability to do that. In fact, did you know that US is the only one in, I think, the world that is focused on nuclear housing, meaning immediate family, whereas other countries focus on multi-generational, like my great grandpa built this home and we still now live in it. And so that is a whole different thing. We'll talk about SB9 in a little bit. That's a whole deep dive. Today's learning objectives is going to be about the 3 pillars of going tiny, what it takes to go tiny, what the 4 types of tiny home building standards are, so that you can better understand that as they connect to the land. And also thinking about the design. Now that we learned about the 3 pillars, what kind of design as it relates to those 3 pillars that you're looking at for your home, and how to develop the team, the dream team that you need to succeed. Okay. So 3 pillars to go tiny. It is the simplest slide I could ever show you, but it can also be the most complex, meaning everything's connected, right? The land's connected to the finance, connected to the build. So how many of you here know, based on, I heard the DIYers, how many of you absolutely know you need financing to make the dream happen? Put Y or put F in the comment, in the chat. Like if you need financing, put F in the comment, or yes, excuse me, my mistake. F, Y, yes. Okay, still figuring this out, right? That's a big one. And how many of you already have land? Put L in the comment if you already have land. If you're looking for land, put LL. That also includes community, right? Yes, a lot of LLs out there looking for land. Yes, if you already own it, that is an interesting indicator that your land already tells us a lot of things about where you're at and what you're doing. And then in terms of builder, how many of you absolutely know who your builder is going to be? You saw this either online, you've talked with them on the phone, or you've met them in person, maybe took a tour. Just say, I know, for the builder. Or you're still figuring it out. Yes, I know who I want to build. Awesome. Yay. So those 3 pillars are really important to figure out, as that is your DNA. I like to call this, everyone has their own DNA, right? This is the DNA of your project, of your tiny home dream coming true. And the land is going to be a big part of it, right? We're not talking about flying out in the middle of the ocean. We're not talking about going to Mars. I know some people want to, or the moon, whatever. We're talking about physical land here. And I sort of joke, there's no land being recreated, unless you're in like Hawaii and the lava is flowing. But we're talking absolute land right here that we already have. We have what we have. So the key thing is figuring out where, unless you're absolutely committed to just traveling around. Like, so that was pretty easy for us. In our regards, we already wanted to travel. We didn't need to work on this box. Well, because we wanted to travel, we knew the build was going to involve wheels. So that's another big question. Do you know right now, if you want wheels or foundation, put W or F, or question mark if you're not quite sure, right? Wheels, F, both. Okay, cool. That is possible. Question marks, perfect. Those are so great. And then of course we got the finance. So we pretty much have asked a number of questions. I feel like some people need to, know anyone out there that feel like you have at least one or two or three of these boxes checked, right? Put 1, 2, or 3 in the comment. Like if you know exactly all the who's going to build it, the finance you're getting, and all of that, put in the number that you feel like you really have, because that can be an indicator of where you're going to go next. Because ideally, once you have the number 3, you've arrived at your plan. You've figured it out. And that's, I think, why all of us are here, is to figure out what our next steps are, removing the blocks that may be in the way and identifying them. Has anyone identified the immediate block that they're in right now? Just, share it in the chat. We're all here. We're all friendly. We want to support. That's what I hope you've gotten from the last couple of days here, is that everyone here is so dedicated to supporting you. I love this. Thank you, Deb. Indecision, overthink. Bless you, bless you. I had a recent call with a woman. She dove into my academy. She's like, I was watching it so much. She's like, I oversaturated myself. And we do have to be careful of that. I mean, people like myself, we create courses and all that. And then what you need next is very specific for you. And consultants can definitely help that. That is one of my top 10 tips. I love it. Clearing the land, taking some trees down. Betsy, I love that. That's very physical, very specific. Trying to get information, working on a design and trying to figure out where to put a home and how I can afford it. Chantel, sounds like you've got all 3 that are really kind of in development. Yes, awesome. Okay, so that's the 3 pillars to go tiny. Who's ready for a hot seat? Who feels, and I'm pretty sure I haven't checked in, I see tinyhouse.com here. Who is ready to come out on audio with me, who's really dedicated to your dream, making it happen? Because we're going to go through the 3 pillars together quickly in a hot seat. And I can tell you from everyone that's ever done this. All right, Deb, tinyhouse.com. I think I can do this. Am I able? Whoops. No, let's see here. Participants. Maybe I'm not able to. Oh, here we go. Attendees. Deb, I can find it. Okay. Maybe I can't bring you out as a panelist. Maybe those guys have to. I'm sorry to throw you guys in on this so quick, but I love it. We've got Nick, you've already got your tiny home. You've got many tiny homes. Renee, okay. I'll see if I'm going to keep going with the presentation. If you can be brought out, that'd be great. I'd
Lindsay,
still love
who were you trying to bring out?
Deb, she said yes first, and she's in the purple D. You can make her a panelist.
I'll
Awesome.
travel.
This is great. If we were in person together, we would all be clapping. Give Deb the, are you out there, Deb? Yay. Hi, Deb.
Yay. I unmuted.
Yay. You're good. You're on. Okay,
All right.
so Deb, tell us a little bit more, just a sketch of what you're looking to do.
I'm looking to create a tiny house village for those of us who are disabled with environmental illnesses. So we need to go rural, we need to be away from cell towers and so forth.
Okay, so what have you identified where?
I've narrowed it down to probably either Maine or New Hampshire or Massachusetts.
Okay, so you're in that northern part of our country here in the US.
Partly, because I need to be near family, etc., community.
And what do you feel like you need next? Do you have the funding resources to go and purchase this land?
No.
Okay. What I can definitely share with you is that Dan Fitzpatrick and myself, he'll be speaking today later on about the ICC new code, new standard that's coming out for tiny homes. And I think that would be the easiest one for you to dive into, because how many else who are here want to also develop a community? I'm assuming that's more than 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 homes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just
an idea of how many?
I'm guessing somewhere around a dozen.
Okay, yeah, and that's plenty. I mean, if you get into more than 4, I say 4 because of SB9 in California. SB9 takes R1 zoning, and instead of just allowing 1 home, you can do up to 4 homes. That's about as much as I'm gonna be able to share about that, because we could
Okay.
spend pretty much the rest of the conference talking about SB9.
Mhm.
However, in your case, what you're looking to do, have you entertained the idea of buying an RV village? I mean, sorry, an RV park.
Yes, and I have a realtor in New Hampshire who, I'm on notifications. I look at things like that. But no go yet because I have like no money of my own.
Okay, but you got a vision. Well, congratulations.
Oh, I
You've
have
got
a huge, exciting vision. Got that far.
Yeah. And now what's interesting, what I can share with you, go to my YouTube channel, find the Go Tiny Pro show and watch the video that I recorded of Shelly Jensen and from We Fortify and my goodness, Jeffrey Cooper, who's an investor funder. And there's an entire session there on how to attract program related investing, or what we'd call social impact investing, because
Okay.
there are probably foundations out there that may be very interested in environmental illness or supporting. And it's
Yep.
about how guiding. Grant money is great. Okay, free money, yay, every time we want it. However, there may not always be enough free money for what you want to do to buy the land, develop the land, put the homes on it, all the things.
And there may be strings attached.
Well, program related investing, it's a big conversation what we can have. So I think stay tuned to the rest of what I have to share in this presentation, because I think
Okay.
it'll really help. But for anyone that really wants to understand more about impact investing and We Fortify and what they did with helping youth aging out of the foster care system in Colorado Springs, and the fact that at least 2 or 3 other developers wanted the same lot, but they were not approved. But when they came along with their nonprofit and their goal, not only did they not get approved, they got approved by the city, they got the funding to do it from various investors. So awesome. Thank you so much, Deb. Give her a round of applause in whatever way we can do that. Normally in person, we'd be applauding. Thank you, Deb. Okay, so now we're going to dive into the building standard and zoning laws, because understanding the building standard and zoning laws and how you work with them really help guide the land portion of the 3 pillars. So building standards is how the home is built, right? It's if a home is built, there's a standard for which it's built to. And that really helps us, go down that path. With the zoning laws, what's allowed on the land or not allowed on land is very significant. In some cases, it's unrestricted. You can build whatever you want. In many cases, at least in the state I live in, there's very strict zoning laws as to how big a minimum size home is going to be and all of that. And this is probably the area that I see most people get tripped up on, because it wasn't taught in schools. And unless you really were a developer of property, and I'm not saying a renter or a homeowner, if you're a homeowner and you bought and sold homes, all of that was already done by the developers. But if you want to buy raw land and put a home on it, that will be a development, no matter how big it may be. It may just be for you and your home, or it could be like Deb just said about a whole community. So big breaking news. Tiny home is a marketing term. We use it. We can use it to relate to a van someone lives in. We could use it related to a school bus, a home on wheels, all kinds of things. So that's an important one. If you pick up the phone and call your local jurisdictions, I'd like a tiny home permit, please. Most likely they'll have things like tiny home on wheels or movable tiny home or accessory dwelling units, things like that. But that is the key step to understanding that every type you're about to see next is built in a factory and arrives on wheels. If someone wants something built on site, that's pretty much not what I'm going to talk about. That already exists in general contractors, architects, and all of that. So we really want to focus on something built in a factory, arriving on wheels, and then being put on ground. Whether it stays on the wheels or is removed is different. So the movable tiny home is not a standard yet. It's built on wheels. There's the recreational vehicle NFPA 1192 for temporary living. The park model RV, it's an ANSI building code, A119.5, up to 400 square feet. However, it's known for temporary living. This is largely, these two are where our tiny home industry has been building our tiny homes to, okay? Because it existed, these standards existed. However, when the zoning laws come in, some of them have not allowed them to be on wheels for you to live on. And so the International Residential Code, adopted by every state in the nation except for Wisconsin, which has its own residential code, means that it's built to a code. It can arrive on wheels, factory built housing, modular, prefab, or a lot of the words that are used for this, and put on permanent placement. Now it's recorded as real property, whereas the first two are known as personal property. Now, in some cases, why my brain just went, in some cases, some jurisdictions say you can get your ANSI or an NFPA, and as long as you tie it correctly to the ground, then it can be deemed as something that is permanent. So this gets gray. I'm sorry, we are not very black and white in this reality. And what Dan and Brad are going to talk about at 5 p.m. Pacific time tonight about the new standard that can add a whole standard to this list is going to be a game changer for this industry. So be sure to clue into that one. Then the final one is housing urban development. Up to 320 square feet or more. It's a national standard for permanent placement, and yet it arrives on wheels, is put up on metal adjustable piers, and that's considered permanent placement. So there's a lot that can be done. And in fact, my buddy Nick Mosley in the house, he's still there. He is a builder that's been building to NFPA and ANSI for many years and still builds that way, but is also HUD certified. So that means he can build a home that looks like a tiny home to us, but can be placed in places where they only allow HUD or IRC. So, there we go. And it can also remain a personal property. There's a lot of pat your head, rub your belly going on here. I hope to do it enough justice to get it at least broken down. So at least you get the acronyms and understanding that these exist. So this is why I share with you tiny home on wheels. Thank you forever tiny homes. Small home on foundation. Which is your choice? Now that you've heard out there, is it THOW or SMOF? Right? What will work for you based on your life goals, your dreams, all those things? Awesome. Both. Yes. So very important. If you're knowing that you want both, who your builder is. Now we're going to think about that third pillar. You're going to identify the builder. Now, if you also need financing, you might also need to identify the builder that can offer the kind of financing or connect you with financing resources that will support that vision. Okay. So a number of these things are so key. I love it. Jill Conto is a great resource. Yes, you are correct. She is all about tiny home communities. Search tinyhousevillages.com or .org, sorry, is her connection. So I couldn't leave. It said 10 tips to go tiny, so I had to do this. Number one, follow your heart. If your heart, the dream lives in there, not up here. This is where we get a little like, what do I want? And back and forth, but following the heart, right? If your heart says you want home ownership, you follow that. Knowing what you want is probably the next step because your heart wants what it wants, and then you got to fill in the blanks. Then asking yourself, is what I want going to work based on the land I'm looking for, the finance I need, all of those things. And then from there, take action. And I'm telling myself, I recently had visions of putting a home, an ADU in my parents' backyard. ADU stands for accessory dwelling unit, an accessory to the main home. And I went down to the planning department. Do you know how long I'd been talking with my parents about an ADU in their backyard? For probably a year. Finally walked in the planning department. And if you don't feel comfortable doing that, there's resources out there to help you do that. And then based on that, what information you find, revise the plan, right? It might be that you head down this road, but you turn into that one. Be flexible. That's probably what that one would say. Find your team. Ask lots of questions. This is your due diligence moment. This is you holding all the risk, especially when you go out to certain builders. Builders are not required to be general contractors if they're building tiny homes on wheels. So do your due diligence. We've heard horror stories. I unfortunately have helped a number of people that have lost their deposits. Notice that. Hiring consultants and professionals. I am one of those people. People have been doing this for a long time. Can be worth their weight in gold. If you pay for something that they help you avoid a bigger problem, that is huge, right? Keep going no matter what, right? Going back to following your heart and taking through the steps. And of course, the last one, I know it sounds cheesy, but make sure you have as much fun as possible. That can actually help with following your heart and moving through the blocks, right? We all can get stuck in the overanalyzing, overthinking, not sure what to do. Find a pathway, work through the path and see if it can work. I love all the chant back and forth. I'm loving this back and forth. That is the key thing. We are your community, right? You've already had the networking going on, all the energy here. You can tell this is the place to be. So make sure you find as many conferences and events to go and be a part of. Probably don't have time for this. It's 11:27, 3 minutes. And I do want to make sure you all get my gifts. My gifts are the 15-minute tiny home discovery call. It's free with me. Feel free to follow me on any of the social platforms. I'm at Tiny Home Lady. And on that call, we'll go into your specific plan based on the 3 pillars of going tiny. So the good news is when we get on the call, I'll be like, all right, give me what you got in regards to the land, the finance, and the build, and we'll see where we go next, right? It's all about where you're at now and what next step you're going to take to help move through any of the blocks or any of the barriers to get the information and resources that you need. And the beautiful part is I've developed quite a network because I've been going to, I just crested over 40 events in the last 6 years. I'm talking in person or online like this. 40 different events that I've gone and attended in the tiny home space, whether they're home and garden shows or traditional just tiny home festivals. And by doing that, big networks and connections. That's what I like to be, is the hub. That's my biggest offer to the world, and my purpose here on this planet is to make the connections with the people that are passionate about going tiny. And my last gift to you here is the Go Tiny Academy. I'm doing a big shift and a big pivot here as I land finally after 6 years of traveling. I am offering the Go Tiny Academy for $1. I can't do it for $0 because my program wouldn't let me, but $1 is what I'm offering. And I've got 1 minute for question and answer. Let me see. I know there's a lot going on in the chat. 30 minutes is not that long. I hope you guys had a good 30 minutes with me. And I'm so excited to be in support of your journey in going tiny. Here's my information in the chat. Thank you so much for being here. And I'll see you today again at 5 with Brad and Dan with the Tiny Home Industry Association, talking all about the International Code Council and collaboration with Thea in creating the newest tiny home standard that is really going to open up so much more in the industry. So thank you so much. Here's the code again. It is GT, Global Tiny House Conference 96. And that will give you everything right now as I do a major shift and plan. I'm going to get into like mini courses and all kinds of stuff. But for now, you've got that there. Hi, Gwen. Gwen's in the Go Tiny Academy. And we've been together for about a year in there, really working and developing. And I'm also doing weekly shows on my YouTube channel. So stay tuned for that at Tiny Home Lady. Love to have you be a subscriber. And thank you, Zach, Jason, Jell, and all the crew here for hosting this platform. Bye, everyone.